Exclusive contract from Feilu Novel Network Novel. Film and television. Encounter Wang Xiaomi becomes Song Qian's tenant. Traveling through the world of film and television, I met Wang Xiaomi, who encountered a life choice question: rent a haunted yard and dig up over 4 million yuan of ill-gotten gains under the bed, changing apartments, and encountering Song Qian, who has been single for many years. From then on, besides the quirky black-hearted cotton jacket, there was also a ***. The life of a middle-aged man can also be rich and colorful. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. 0001 Crossing, Middle-Aged Man. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I said, "Old Ma, why did you go to the restroom and use it for so long? Hurry up, come and continue drinking." Just as he opened the bathroom door, Mark, who had no idea what was happening, was pulled over by a man. I followed into the private room, where there was a table of men, women, and men drinking and chatting enthusiastically in a positive atmosphere. Who are they? Where am I again? The hooded Mark had no time to think, and a glass of baijiu had been raised to his face. The previous second, he was still standing on the podium teaching the students the text, Peach Blossom Spring, and then I just felt a darkness in front of me. He appeared in this completely unfamiliar place. "Ah, old horse, can you stop pretending, kid? I still don't know what your alcohol tolerance is. Drink. Hurry up." Seeing Mark stunned, another man across from him also started drinking. At the same time, Mark felt his arm being touched by someone. Turning her head, a woman beside her winked at her and whispered, "Mark, today is my classmate's 16th anniversary of graduation, and the situation is special. It's okay to drink more." I looked at the wine glass in my hand and then at the woman's appearance. A sense of familiarity arose naturally. Have you ever seen this scene somewhere before? Wait. I seem to have an impression. A few days ago when I was free at home, didn't the TV drama I watched start like this now? Thinking of this, Mark carefully stared at the woman again for a few seconds. Then, he had to confirm one thing: I seem to have really traveled through time. Isn't the woman in front of me the field in my physical education teacher? Isn't that to say that her current self has become her ex-husband? A middle-aged physical education teacher with the same name and surname in a TV drama, in his early 40s. After understanding this, Mark immediately became a bit uneasy. He drank all the wine in his glass and then found an excuse to enter the bathroom again. When I saw the unfamiliar and familiar man's face in the mirror, Mark doesn't know whether to cry or laugh. A young man of 30 turns into a middle-aged man of 40. Such a deal seems to be losing money no matter what. However, considering my previous body that was dragged down by illness and pain, it is not unacceptable compared to others. First, I washed my face to make myself a little clearer. Mark began to calculate how to deal with the upcoming reunion, but just as he was at a loss, his mind suddenly began to flood with a pile of memories. The severe headache left Mark unable to recover for half a day, until 5 or 6 minutes later, the feeling of bloating and pain disappeared instantly. Mark's face showed an expression of complete control over everything. The protagonist's memory has been loaded and the system has officially started. Current world. My physical education teacher, please make a choice and complete it before receiving rewards. Option A. After the dinner, go home with your ex-wife Tianai and reward them with a physical fitness enhancement card. Option B. Reveal the fact that you have already divorced, let your ex-wife Tianai go home on her own, and reward her with randomly selected skills once. The standard configuration for the traveler is now available, and from a few brief prompts, Mark can roughly guess some additional information. The current world is the world of physical education teachers, which means that in the future, one may also go to other film and television worlds. At this point, it can indeed give people great attraction and is worth looking forward to. To get to the point, the first multiple-choice question and options were all conducted around my ex-wife Tianyi, with memories of the original protagonist in mind, coupled with prior understanding of the plot. Mark knew very well that if he let Tianai go home on his own, he would follow the original storyline, Xiaoling, the so-called good brother, would thrust out horizontally. My ex-wife got mixed up with my brothers. Such an awkward and disgusting result, Mark doesn't even have to think about it, just pass it. However, Mark also felt that it was not appropriate to choose to go back with Tianai directly, because he already has a more secure plan in his mind now. After making a choice, Mark put on a smiling face and opened the door, returning to the hotel private room. Sorry everyone, your stomach is feeling a bit uncomfortable today. Come on. Let's continue. Old son, raise your glass. And Zhao Ling, you're not drinking anymore. Why bother? With Mark's rejoin, the dinner party immediately became even hotter and became more lively. A group of people push cups and change cups, chatting about the recent trivialities of life and the difficulties encountered in work. In this class of their university, girls were extremely rare back then, except for Tianai. There are hardly any who stay in Yendu to work after graduation. However, Mark had already taken the lead in school and won the most beautiful field in his class. It is precisely because of this that they are called the Golden Children and Jade Daughters in the class. But now, after more than a decade of marriage, the two ultimately chose to separate. It's not that there was an irreconcilable conflict between the two, just because this marriage has gone through too long of mediocrity, the original love has evolved into family affection, and the day after day of contemplation in life can no longer generate any sparks. As a private high school physical education teacher, Mark is more concerned about peace and stability, but Tianai has a strong personality and likes to dominate both work and family. In addition, with a strong desire to become a career powerhouse, after a series of twists and turns, cracks appeared in this seemingly stable marriage. Until today, the two finally made up their minds to apply for a divorce certificate. Looking at Mark drinking heartily beside him, Tianai originally wanted to stop him, but thinking that he and I had already divorced, the words on my lips were swallowed back, unexpectedly. At this moment, old son, who was afraid that the scene would not be lively enough, initiated a proposal, which immediately drew unanimous agreement from everyone. Hey! I'm talking about old Ma. Why are you so busy drinking with us? You and T and I are both here, so we have to have a few drinks together, right? Mark turned his head and glanced at T and I in a black long dress, his expression feeling somewhat awkward. A woman who is about to turn 40 and can maintain herself to look like she is in her 30s, it has to be said that Tianai still has a set. Faced with the commotion from her classmates, her performance was much stronger than Mark's. Tianai stood up with a smile on his face, just like at his usual classmates' meeting. He stood next to Mark and then raised his glass. Drink whatever you want, but our old horse hasn't been doing well lately. Can I replace him with this cup? That's not good. Everyone just wants to see you two drinking together. It's not interesting just for you to drink alone, do you think so? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 0002 Little Cotton Jacket has an accident. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sure enough, as soon as Lao's son finished speaking, there was another burst of laughter and commotion. Knowing that he couldn't escape, Tianai gave Mark a glance. Seeing this, Mark put down his chopsticks and filled his cup. He knew it was time to complete the task of the options. Alright, don't make any fuss, but then again, I really need to drink this wine. Mark raised his cup and pretended to drink too much. This first cup, I want to thank our family Tianai for marrying me 16 years ago. After finishing one sentence, someone next to him immediately continued to coax, yo. Now let's start showing off our love. Mark waved his hand and said, let me finish. This is the second cup. I want to thank Tianai for giving me a daughter and a son, so that my children are both safe. Finally. This is the third cup. I want to thank you for this marriage between us. Even if it ends, it will be a peaceful breakup. No one is sorry for anyone. After 3 sentences, Mark looked up and drank the 3 mixed glasses of wine in one gulp. At the same time, all the classmates who were still watching the excitement had become completely silent, looking back and forth at Mark and Tianai. Both of them couldn't believe it. Tianai is no exception. She has already discussed with Mark in advance that she will temporarily conceal the divorce for a period of time, but now Mark suddenly poked it out. She didn't have the mental preparation to announce it at all. Well, I drank a bit urgently and felt a bit dizzy, so I went back first. After Tianai threw down this sentence, she picked up her bag and had to walk outside. She knew that staying here would definitely face a lot of inquiries from her classmates. Thinking about the embarrassment, she might as well hurry and leave, old Ma. Then I'll go send the fields back. Wake up first and wait for me to come back later. Seeing Tianai about to leave, Zhao Ling immediately stood up. After waiting for a long time, Mark is waiting for now. He also stood up at the same time and pulled Zhao Ling back. It's okay, Zhao Ling. Just let Tianai go home on her own. Also, we're divorced now, but remember, you're my brother, stand on my side. Don't interfere with our affairs. Since Mark's words were all about this, Zhao Ling had to stop in place. After working hard in society for so many years, he could naturally understand the meaning in Mark's words. One thing that puzzled him was, how could Mark feel like he was guarding himself? After leaving the field, a group of classmates indeed gathered up and began to inquire. Mark just briefly explained the situation. The reason for divorce is not the so-called emotional breakdown or the appearance of a third party. Anyway, there are still 2 children below. It's okay, it's okay. It's not as serious as you think. We'll just be apart for a while, stay calm and composed. Maybe it'll be over in a while. Come on, don't be so nervous. One by one, let's continue. In front of his classmates, Mark didn't say anything to death. Everyone also feels that according to their past level of love, even if they are divorced now, it is likely due to a momentary brain heat and impulse, and future reconciliation will also be a matter of certainty, so everyone also let go of their worries. The student union continued to unfold, accompanied until the end, and Mark roughly calculated the time. Now Tianai should have returned home long ago. Sure enough, when we parted ways at the restaurant entrance, the system prompt for completing the task is as scheduled. Congratulations to the host for completing the selection task and receiving a randomly selected skill reward once. In skill extraction. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the skill, know your enemy and know yourself. Know the enemy and know oneself. After actively using it on others, the host can immediately hear the other person's current voice. Daily usage. 3 times. After studying the skill description, Mark was unsure whether his choice was right or wrong, so when he saw Zhao Ling finish picking up the car and coming over, he directly activated his skills against Zhao Ling. A faint purple light flickered, and a voice immediately appeared in Mark's ear, clearly in the tone of Zhao Ling's speech in front of him. What's going on between this old horse and Tianai? There hasn't been any news of divorce. It's so sudden. And his reaction just now was clearly a bit wary of me. I've known him for so many years, but I've always treated old horse like a buddy. It used to be a common occurrence for me to send Tianai back. Forget it, I'll be more careful in the future. After listening to Zhao Ling's voice, Mark immediately gained a certain understanding of this skill. Being able to hear what the other person is currently thinking is a bit too powerful. It seems that in the future, when facing certain people, one can clearly gain some initiative by using skills. Moreover, just now Zhao Ling was obviously more surprised by his divorce from Tianyi, and had no other, ulterior motives. Therefore, Mark also knew that as long as he tried to avoid contact between Zhao Ling and Tianyi in the future, so awkward things like those in the original plot will naturally be stifled in advance. Refusing Zhao Ling's request to send him home, Mark first sent all his classmates away. Then he picked up the phone, opened the contact list, found Mary's name inside, and dialed over. The first call, no one answered. The second one was finally picked up by someone after ringing the back door 3 or 4 times. However, what came from there was a man's voice. Hello. Are you Mary's parents? This is the police station on Warwick Road. Please come and handle it quickly. After hanging up the phone, Mark felt a bit puzzled no matter what he thought. Even though I had already let Tia and I go back alone, this also means that Mary will definitely not encounter that part of the original plot, but why did this little girl still get into the bureau? There's no way. Mark had to call Tia and I to ask, "Hello, Tia and I. Has Mary gone back yet?" "No, she said she went to stay with her grandmother today and didn't go home." "What's wrong? Don't you know?" Jienya's tone was indeed filled with anger. Mark didn't have time to pay attention to this either. He hung up the phone and quickly stopped a taxi before heading towards Warwick Road. At the same time, the Huawei Road police station, located more than 10 kilometers away, after some questioning, Mary was taken into an office by a police comrade. "If you don't learn well at a young age and don't come out to fight at night, stay here for me for now." As the door was closed, another girl inside the room immediately approached. "Little sister, they didn't do anything to you, did they?" The person speaking, if Mark were present, would immediately recognize her identity, and it is undoubtedly Wang Xiaomi. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 0003 Spicy Wang Xiaomi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mary shook her head and pulled a chair to sit on. At the same time, his eyes were also scrutinizing the guy in front of him whom he had helped before. "I said, Auntie, you can really swing it. It's okay now because I handed you a beer bottle and I got into trouble. What should I do?" Wang Xiaomi awkwardly smiled, and then in less than a second, her expression immediately changed. "Wait. What did you call me just now?" "Auntie. What a joke. Little sister, I'll tell you. Even if you just helped me, I can't bear to call me auntie." And Mary rolled her eyes and turned her head away, giving Wang Xiaomi no chance to continue roast. She felt like she had some bad luck today. Originally, when she went out at this time, she wanted to go out and buy some barbecue as a late-night snack to satisfy her cravings, but on the way, I happened to meet my favorite band lead singer Qiu Feng. What's even more incredible is that Qiu Feng seemed to have a conflict with someone at the entrance of the restaurant, and was being surrounded and beaten by a group of people. The scene was exceptionally tragic. As a fan, Mary naturally cannot stand idly by, so he casually handed a beer bottle to the woman who was protecting Qiu Feng. Originally, this bottle was just for putting on a show, but Mary couldn't have imagined that the woman was so tiger that she just opened a gourd with a bottle. There is no need to say much about the next thing, because a bottle of wine entered the station, and Mary's grievances were also unacceptable. Wang Xiaomi couldn't help but laugh and cry when she saw Mary's uneasy expression. "But anyway, the person in front of me can be considered to have helped me." She had to squat in front of Mary and tell her some comforting words. "Actually, there's nothing to worry about. As a senior, my sister told you that I did the harm and have little to do with you. Even if you're convicted, you'll still be charged with me. Don't worry, the police may release you later. Also, entering the bureau is such a boring thing if one has never experienced it once in their lifetime. But just once is enough, remember." Before Wang Xiaomi could finish his second sentence, the door was suddenly pushed open from outside. Both of them were frightened and immediately stood up. "Oh, you too. We've already talked. How about I pour you a cup of tea to quench your thirst? Where was the stool just now? Put it away." As a police officer, it is quite painful for such young people to engage in fights and brawls, especially in the middle of the night. The police situation is even more infuriating. After discovering that Mary was a minor, the police comrade naturally classified her as a bad child who was ignorant and clueless with little girls. As for who is little sister? Besides Wang Xiaomi in the room, it's not anyone else's turn, right? At this moment, Mark, who had arrived in a dusty manner, had already arrived in the hall. After understanding why Mary came in, Mark, who couldn't help but laugh and cry, couldn't say anything anymore. "I didn't expect it, I didn't expect it. I thought I could change the direction of the plot through some tricks, but I am still a bit naive." Following into the office, Mark saw Mary standing at the door first. Realizing that her father had arrived, the little girl lowered her head with a guilty conscience. I thought to myself that after going back today, there will inevitably be another wave of criticism, and my future pocket money will be wasted again. After smelling the strong smell of alcohol on Mark's body, the impression of the police comrade once again decreased significantly. As a parent, you must learn to lead by example. Hey, comrade, you haven't been drinking too much tonight. Sign on this document, and there is also the injured person's medical expenses. You can discuss with the girl inside and see how to solve it properly. The police officer pointed to a door inside and asked Mark to negotiate on his own. Mark nodded and walked to the door. First, I poked my head and observed what was inside. However, after just a glance, the smile on the corner of his mouth couldn't stop. Sure enough, the person staying in the room is Wang Xiaomi. Even due to her own intervention, Mary eventually ran into Wang Xiaomi in such a place. After gaining some confidence in his heart, Mark coughed. Wang Xiaomi, who was bored and daydreaming, immediately guessed Mark's identity when he saw a handsome uncle come in. She awkwardly put on a smiling face and spoke. Uncle. It's really not your daughter's fault for this tonight. I implicated her. Don't be angry with her. Upon hearing Wang Xiaomi's first words being to excuse Mary, Mark sighed inwardly. Indeed, it's not just a family that doesn't enter every door. Wang Xiaomi, this girl, has already started taking care of her calf before treating Mary as her stepmother, which is quite interesting. Oh. I already know what's going on. Pack up your things and come with me. Ah. Let's go with you. Wang Xiaomi was a bit puzzled as she was still waiting for her daughter Jianfen to come and raise money. Even though the person who was beaten has let go of the responsibility, it is obvious that he cannot do without the medical expenses not being paid in full. I'll cover the medical expenses for you first. You can go home this big night first. By the way, what's your phone number? Let me save it. After Mark finished speaking, he took out his phone and also used the skill of Know Your Enemy and Know Yourself to Wang Xiaomi. It's almost 12 o'clock, so we can't waste any more times. Sure enough, Wang Xiaomi's voice quickly rang in her ears. I can't bear it this time anymore. Break up. We must break up. Qiu Feng, you're not even a man. This time, we're completely finished. Good guy. After listening to Wang Xiaomi's voice, Mark couldn't help but feel the corners of his mouth twitching. Wang Xiaomi is indeed quite spicy and has a fearless personality. However, it is precisely because of this that many people may not know if they like her role. Ha! Uncle. Is there anything on my face? After being stared at by Mark for a while, Wang Xiaomi felt a bit embarrassed. She always felt that there seemed to be an inexplicable depth in the man's gaze before her. Cough, it's okay. I was just thinking about something. I have already saved the phone number. Thank you very much. By the way, my name is Wang Xiaomi and I work at a pet store. I will find a way to quickly repay your medical expenses. Also, if you are not confident, can I hold my ID card with you? Not so much as not. Mark waved his hand repeatedly and turned around to leave the door. The first time we met, although Mark was quite excited in his heart, he also knew that he had to control the right balance. Just get the favor you deserve. There is no need to go too far in certain matters, otherwise it will be too much and too little. Speaking of which, do any of the fans of this TV series like to watch Qingming Outing and Happy Reading? Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 0004 Age is a problem. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After coming out of the police station, Mark walked at the front. Mary noticed that Wang Xiaomi occasionally looked at her, so she stuck out her tongue and made a funny face. Hey, auntie, what's your relationship with my idol Qiu Feng? Don't say you're a couple. Couple. Oh, stop using those two words to disgust me. Also, call me sister. Call me sister. After hearing Qiu Feng's name, Wang Xiaomi felt inexplicably annoyed. I went to the station to save him, but fortunately, he hasn't seen anyone in such a long time. I had already made up my mind to break up, but after tonight's incident, Wang Xiaomi didn't hesitate at all. By the way, sisters, I heard that my father pays for all the medical expenses. Can you tell me your WeChat account? My father can rest assured, but I can't trust you. Although Mary is somewhat of a financial fanatic, however, she used medical expenses as an excuse to ask for Wang Xiaomi's contact information. The true purpose is not as she said. To put it simply, she still wanted to get some information about Qiu Feng and their band members indirectly. After all, it's normal for girls in high school to enjoy music and the like. Without any hesitation, Wang Xiaomi naturally didn't think much. She took out her phone and asked Mary to add her WeChat account. Little sister, if you're free another day, I'll invite you out to dinner. The two of us have also had a friendship of fighting together. Please treat me to dinner. That's something we can consider. Alright, my dad has already stopped you. See you later. Mark stopped a taxi on the roadside and waved his hand to let Wang Xiaomi come over to take a seat and go home first. After the car disappeared at the intersection, Mark looked at his daughter fiercely. Mary, tell me, why did you come running on the road when you didn't stay at your grandmother's house in the middle of the night? Mary knew she was wrong, but remained silent and walked forward with her head down. Seeing this, Mark had no choice but to slow down and soften his voice. Dad, it's not your fault for fighting with people. Let's deal with this today. I'll just treat it as if nothing happened, and your mother will keep it from you. As soon as she finished half a sentence, Mary lifted her head in disbelief and looked at her father with bright eyes. Dad, when has it been so easy to talk? Are you serious? When did I deceive you? But I have to tell you one thing. You can't go out on your own at night in the future. If you really have some problems, how should you explain them to your family? Mary quickly nodded her little head, and the corners of her mouth had already begun to smile. It seems that I managed to avoid a disaster today, otherwise if my mom really found out, the consequences would be unimaginable. Looking at Mary bouncing around, Mark also felt quite wonderful in his heart. He thought he would find it difficult to get along well with this girl, but with the blessing of the original protagonist's memory, everything becomes simpler. In the future, having such a ghostly little cotton jacket by my side would be a very interesting thing, wouldn't it? The father and daughter walked for a long time without waiting for the second taxi to come. After glancing at the time, Mark simply scanned a small yellow car on the roadside. Dad, you're not planning to ride a bike and take me home, are you? Mary couldn't believe it because this place was so far from her home that she couldn't go back by bike for less than 2 hours. What kind of home are you going back to? You can just stay at your grandmother's house. If you want to go back, you'll be punished. You're right, Grandma's house is quite close to here. By the way, when I went out, Grandma was already asleep. Let's stay quietly for a while. Mary jumped onto the back seat and hugged her father's waist like she usually does at school. Nestled on this broad back, Mary suddenly felt particularly grounded today. The saying, Dad is a safe haven for children, is absolutely true. Dad, what if I'm not by your side when you're old? What should I do? I can't live without you. Haha. Upon hearing his daughter's sudden remark, Mark, who was riding a bicycle, burst into laughter, but instantly realizing my current age after crossing over, Mark felt an inexplicable nervousness. No, no, no. In the future, if there are rewards such as physical strengthening in the system, I must make sure to keep some, not to mention anything else. When Wang Xiaomi fools over, I'll have to argue for some anger myself. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 0005 old men are also popular. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, Grandma Mary felt something was wrong when she found out that her own son had also returned to live. After Mark finished washing his face and brushing his teeth, the old lady directly blocked Mark at the door and asked, Mark, did you argue with T and I again? Mark naturally gave a perfunctory answer, no, how could it be? No arguments. No arguments. How about coming home and staying? If you really argue, you can take it easy for me. I'm 40 years old now, and I have to worry about this damn thing. My own son said he didn't lie, so being a mother naturally shows it at a glance. What the old lady didn't expect was that this time it wasn't just a minor issue for the couple to argue. If she knew it was her son who divorced his daughter. In law, I estimate that high blood pressure can occur on the spot. It's not as much as you think. I just had a party last night and had to drink too much to go back to the fields and chatter for a long time. Why don't I just come to your place? Alright, don't think so. I'll go wake up Lily and I'll miss school later. The old lady wanted to say a few more words, but Mark had already turned around and entered the inner room, not giving her a chance. After calling Mary up, the father and daughter hurriedly took a few bites of food and then took a taxi directly to school. After leaving the alley, Mary, who had only slept for a few hours, clearly hadn't recovered her energy yet. After getting on the car, I started yawning continuously. Mark saw her dozing off and thought to himself that even in class, Mary wouldn't listen at all, so he simply said, Lily, you can just go home later. I'll take a day off from school for you. Dad. Don't lie to me. I can't even open my eyes now. Can't keep your eyelids open. So who can you rely on? Mark shook his head, took out a 100 yuan bill from his pocket and handed it to Mary, then told the driver to take him to school first. As soon as he got off the car and entered the school gate, Mark saw his colleague, Teacher Jean, walking towards him quickly. Good morning, Lao Jean. Why are you panicking so early in the morning? Seeing Mark teasing himself, Teacher Jean stopped Mark's shoulder and lowered his voice. Teacher Ma, have you heard about it? What have you heard? Godly chatter. Our school's Xiao Wang is the one who only came 2 months ago to teach history. Do you remember? Yeah. What's wrong with him? Seeing Mr. Jin's mysterious appearance, Mark thought he must be telling himself some gossip again. However, to his surprise, what he heard this time was news that made people envious, jealous, and resentful. Just a little Wang, I bought lottery tickets from the lottery store across from our school last week and won the big prize. How many are in it? 13 million. After tax. Hey, look at them, how could they have such a good life? Well, they won the lottery first and then resigned from their jobs. They're not even married before the age of 30, and they don't want to play whatever they want in the future. In Lao Jin's tone, there was an immense envy everywhere. Even Mark couldn't help but marvel. Young, wealthy, unmarried, these words add up, and they have a lot of meanings. However, envy comes from envy. It's obvious that I don't have to consider that ultimate dog luck. The two of them were talking and walking with their backs hooked. After passing through the long corridor in front of the school, before entering the office, Mark heard someone calling his name at the entrance of the principal's office not far away. Old Ma. Teacher Ma. Come on, discuss something with you. Seeing the principal calling him, Mark handed his bag to Teacher Jean and joked. Call me early in the morning, the principal must be a bad boy. Ha, come on, Ma. Maybe this time we're going to announce that you'll be the grade director. Entering the principal's office, Mark casually found a chair and sat down. After seeing the tea already brewed on the coffee table, Mark smiled and shook his head. Yoha, I said principal, you personally brew tea for me, but it's not common. Let's talk about it, don't be too concerned. What's going on? In school, Mark's relationship with the principal is quite good. Speaking privately is also very casual, more like an old friend of many years. Seeing Mark coming straight to the point, the principal immediately laughed as well. Old Ma, I really can only rely on you for this matter. She can't do it for others. But it doesn't matter. Our school's board of directors will be returning to the school for inspection in 2 days. I remember last time Sister Lee only had a good impression of you. Halfway through, Mark already understood. He quickly put down his teacup and waved his hand repeatedly to refuse. Anything else is fine, but I can't handle this matter. Oh my goodness, after all this fuss, you've hit me again with this plan. Don't intervene, old horse, last time. No way. Mark still refuses to accept the betrayal of his personality, which he finds difficult to accept. Seeing Mark's reluctance to agree, the principal immediately activated the lure mode, really not. When teacher who retires and becomes the grade director, I am already preparing to give you the position. Damn it. We don't bring this kind of thing. Mark pouted and stood up, so I'll call you then. Watching Mark leave, the principal smiled twice and muttered to himself. This old horse is also a cult, I don't understand. The school board is a powerful woman with a value of over 100 million, why is she interested in this kind of old man? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. A man with 3 legs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Meanwhile, at the entrance of the pet shop where Wang Xiaomi works, faced with Qiu Feng, who came knocking to ask for forgiveness, Wang Xiaomi replied with a crisp and decisive word, which was, "Get lost." Knowing that he had done something wrong, Qiu Feng quickly continued to explain. Xiaomi, listen to my explanation. Since I went back last night, I have been trying to come out and save you, but my parents are really strict with me. I really can't do it. The reason why only Wang Xiaomi was left at the police station until late at night after the fight, in just over an hour, what happened was quite complex. Qiu Feng's parents, both of whom are professors in universities, have high moral standards and are naturally conservative in their thinking. For my son's girlfriend Wang Xiaomi, for various reasons, they have always looked down upon and strongly opposed it. Last night, when I learned that Qiu Feng and Wang Xiaomi were in the bureau due to a fight, the things the old couple did were also quite remarkable, just keeping Qiu Feng out. Wang Xiaomi didn't even bother, and after returning home, Qiu Feng is also not allowed to go out. In their perception, their obedient son's ability to fight with others is also due to Wang Xiaomi, an uneducated woman. Looking at the man in front of him who was completely unaware of the seriousness of the problem, Wang Xiaomi is completely hopeless. When Wang Xiaomi was in the bureau last night, he had already thought a lot. A man who is afraid of his parents can leave his girlfriend at the Jing Inspection Bureau and ignore it, let alone because this incident itself is caused by him. How irresponsible this is. Coupled with the ongoing arguments and conflicts, Wang Xiaomi's heart is truly heartbroken. Wang Xiaomi, didn't I tell you what's going on? Can you stop putting on a bad face? Besides, aren't you also coming out? As more and more people gathered around to watch the excitement, Qiu Feng felt a bit uneasy on his face, and his words began to go too far. Also, my dad, mom, and you are not unaware. They didn't agree with our matter in the first place. Even so, even if they keep changing their ways and bring various women home all day, I haven't even looked at them seriously. After finishing the second half of the sentence, Wang Xiaomi immediately widened her eyes and bit her lips tightly. She's trembling. Concealing a blind date from oneself. Turns out I've been kept in the dark all along. Wang Xiaomi smiled self-deprecatingly, with an indescribable expression on his face. A bunch of words I wanted to say and curse were all stuck in my throat. At this moment, she suddenly had a feeling of unfamiliarity with the man in front of her. How selfish is a person to become like this? After spending so many years together, has it really been wasted on dogs? At this point, Wang Xiaomi's decision to break up can no longer be shaken. After wiping away the tears, Wang Xiaomi looked at Qiu Feng and said seriously and firmly. Qiu Feng, let's just end it this way. After speaking, Wang Xiaomi turned around and was about to enter the pet store. Oh, I said, can you stop endlessly, Wang Xiaomi? It's interesting to scare me with breakups all day long. Qiu Feng reached out his hand to stop him, but he was greeted by a bucket of cold water spilled from the pet store. Feng, didn't you hear what our Xiaomi said? Between the two of you, it's over. If you don't leave again, I'll let the dog bite you. The speaker was none other than Wang Xiaomi's best friend and colleague, Diana. Being splashed with water, Feng's face couldn't be saved. Just haven't waited for him to take any action yet, Diana shouted, "Old Han, come out quickly." In less than a second, a man holding a fruit knife appeared at the entrance of the pet store. "Hurry up and get out of here, kid. Otherwise, I'll take a knife and cut you." Now, even the owner of the pet store, Han Jinlong, has taken action. "What are you dragging?" Seeing that the situation was not good, Feng could only curse softly and quickly ran away under the gaze of everyone. After Diana and Lao Han returned to the store, seeing Wang Xiaomi already lying on the table crying with tears, for a moment, I didn't know how to comfort myself. As friends, colleagues, and bosses, their impression of Feng has always been very poor. However, for the sake of Wang Xiaomi's face, he never took the initiative to say it. Now that I see Wang Xiaomi, I finally want to open up. But Jianfen and Lao Han are somewhat relieved. "Xiaomi, stop crying. It's hard to find a three-legged toad. There are so many three-legged men. He doesn't care about you, there are people who care about you." "Yeah, Xiaomi, Jianfen is right. I've been looking down on Feng for a long time. Breaking up with him is okay. You did the right thing." After Diana finished speaking, Old Han quickly agreed, but as he spoke, Old Han felt like he had forgotten something. After recalling it for a moment, he immediately stared and pulled up Diana's braid. "Diana. Just now you said, why are you calling me by my name after letting the dog bite you?" "Boy, I only realized it now, man. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 0007 Fitness Coach. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although I have witnessed many scenes of Wang Xiaomi breaking up and being deeply hurt, Wang Xiaomi's eyes turned red as she lay on the cash register of the pet store. Ignoring anyone shouting, Old Han and Jianfen exchanged a glance, then they nodded and walked together to the room inside. Jianfen. Wang Xiaomi's breakup this time must have been serious, right? But this time, Old Han doesn't feel like he did in the past few times. Diana also expressed her agreement with a helpless expression. Xiaomi, this time, really got hurt by that bastard Feng. When it comes to Feng, Old Han is infuriated. That's right. I already feel like that kid can't do it anymore. He's from an old master's house, and he doesn't have any masculine aura all over his body. Using women as a shield, I'm sorry. Jianfen felt like interrupting Old Han's curse and asking serious questions. Hey, Old Han, don't be too hasty. What should Xiaomi do here? How about I give her a few days off? Let her relax. As the boss, this is the only thing that Old Han can think of. That's a great idea. I'll tell her later. After discussing it, Diana walked out and sat next to Wang Xiaomi, but she didn't speak, just patiently waiting for her to calm down. As a woman, Diana is well aware that ultimately, this kind of thing still needs to be handled by Wang Xiaomi herself. Once emotions are let go, the so-called sad things of the past are nothing at all. Hello, Teacher Ma. Why haven't you come today? After answering the phone and hearing the inquiry from the other side, Mark muttered to himself that something was wrong. At this moment, he remembered that he still had the status of a part-time fitness coach. According to the schedule, I happen to be going over to take a few students today. It's all because I haven't adapted to the new environment and new identity yet, and I forgot about it. Hurriedly settling down with Mary, who was returning home with him, Mark took a taxi and rushed to the gym near the school. As soon as I walked in, a young man stopped me. The other person's name is Wang Xiaomi, not only the owner of the gym, but also a student that Mark once taught. Teacher Ma. You're here. Those two students are driving me crazy. Apart from you, they're not looking for anyone. Upon hearing these words, Mark knew what Wang Xiaomi was talking about as a student. These two female students, they are all in their 20s and early 30s, she also has a beautiful appearance and an outstanding figure. When I come to the gym, I usually drive a small sports car and dress up like a big name. At first, Mark thought they were young, wealthy and beautiful people in the family. But ever since I saw one of them being picked up by an older man who was even older than me, he suddenly understood. Mark doesn't mind being a third party to others. In such a vast metropolis, there are countless wealthy people, and men's hobbies are just a few things. No matter how old you are, always keep your original intention and like young and beautiful girls. This little bit, let alone others, even Mark himself admits the same change into sportswear. And Mark approaches the women's section inside. Just as he showed his head, he was seen by the sharp-eyed students. Coach Ma. How did you come? The extremely numb tone made the old horse instinctively tremble, but he immediately adjusted his state and greeted him with a smiling face. Xiao Sun, Xiaoli, I'm sorry, there was a bit of traffic jam on the road today and I came late. I'm sorry. Oh my, they've been waiting for you so hard. That's right. You should give us sisters good guidance later. Recently, we haven't had much exercise, so we feel that we have more meat on our stomachs. Two female students gathered around Mark one by one. He said he wanted to exercise, but there was no intention of walking towards the fitness equipment under his feet. The old horse, who has long been accustomed to this, is already adept at handling it. Anyway, the money I earn in one class is the same. As long as they are willing to chat, there won't be any loss for themselves. Coach Ma, after exercising later, should we go out for dinner together? I heard a new store has opened nearby and invited you so many times. You can't refuse even once, can you? In the same gym, unlike Mark's surroundings, the rest of the young fitness coaches are mostly students who have come to exercise seriously. They can only watch as the old horse is surrounded, feeling extremely envious in my heart, yet helpless. What they couldn't figure out was that they were all coaches. I am young and energetic. My muscles are exploding all over my body, with sharp edges and corners. Why can't he compare to an old man in his 40s with a belly full? Do beautiful female students nowadays like the type of uncle style? Has the taste also become unusual? At the end of half a class, during the break, Mark went aside and poured water into the cup. At this moment, the owner of the gym, Wang Xiaomi, approached him and asked with a smile. Teacher Ma, how do you feel? How about what? Hey ya. Don't pretend you don't understand. How many people around are watching? Those two students. Hee. Wang Xiaomi raised his eyebrows and didn't finish speaking, but the meaning behind the words was self-evident. Oh, you're talking about Xiaosun and Xiaoli. They said they would treat me to dinner later, and I'm just considering whether to agree or not. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 0008 left and right hand. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mark didn't shy away and directly revealed this matter. If it were his former self, he would definitely refuse such things directly, but now it's different. Due to the fusion of memory, Mark's thinking has changed to some extent. Furthermore, I am currently in a divorce state, which reduces many concerns. There is nothing else to do in the gym after work, and I haven't found a new place to move out yet. Returning home is more awkward. Why not find something to relax? Promise. Why not promise? Teacher Ma, let me tell you. These two students are VIP members of our gym. Even if it's for business, you have to go all out. Besides, you won't suffer any losses. Hey guy, you're planning to sell your teacher for some money, right? Mark joked back, but Wang Xiaomi nodded very seriously. Teacher Ma, don't think my words are unpleasant. Among all the coaches in our gym, you have the least number of students under your command. The industry competition is fierce now, and 2 new companies have opened next door. If these students are taken away now, we will collectively lose our jobs. This statement is true, and Mark has also heard of the opening of a new gym nearby. However, my student's shop has been open for 7 or 8 years now. Not only has the decoration become outdated, but the equipment is also somewhat outdated. It is undeniable that business is getting worse and worse. Also, this time over, Mark has one more thing to do, which is to prepare to resign from his part-time job as a coach. Mark knew very well that his students had taken care of him for many years in terms of teacher-student relationships, but now Mark obviously doesn't have enough time to come and work part-time at the gym. He also found a new way to solve the problem of lack of money. Relying solely on the dead wages of the school and the income here is simply not enough to look at. Upon hearing Mark mention his resignation, Wang Xiaomi was also surprised for a long time, and after asking for a while what was going on, he stopped working properly. Mark had no choice but to speak up about his divorce in order to get through it. At 11 o'clock at night, Mark, who was a bit drunk, slowly returned to the community. I thought the 2 children had already rested with Tenant, who would have thought that the lights in the living room were still on. Upon closer inspection, Tenant was lying on the sofa watching TV. Upon hearing the sound of the door opening, Tenant yawned and sat up, then frowned slightly. Did you drink alcohol? It's better to drink less in the future, old ma. I have something to tell you. Mark nodded, poured himself a glass of water, and then looked at the field. Tell me, what's going on? I've been looking for a house recently, but the agent hasn't been able to find a suitable one. Don't worry, I'll move out as soon as possible. Mark had already guessed what Tenant had said. With a wave of his hand, Mark pointed towards the bedroom of the 2 children, gesturing for a quieter voice. I haven't had a chance to tell you about this yet. I think we should leave this apartment for you. I've also found a new house and can move out tomorrow. How can that be done? It was agreed upon before the divorce, and the house will be left for you. Jie's tone is very firm and cannot be refuted. I said I'll give you the house. Don't argue with me. Is it convenient for you as a woman to move out with a pony brain? Mark, I won't bring you like this. Alright, that's settled. Go to sleep. Unable to help Tenant answer again, Mark had already walked into the bathroom and closed the door, listening to the sound of water coming from inside. Jie's face was complex and he didn't know what he was thinking. As there are no other rooms at home, that night, Mark and Tenant did not sleep in separate rooms. Anyway, we've been living together for over a decade now. There is nothing worth avoiding, just like the feeling of holding the right hand with the left hand. That night, both of them had some insomnia. Jie's mind has been constantly thinking about the period of family. So far, she doesn't know whether the divorce is right or wrong, but since the decision has been made, according to her personality, there is nothing to regret. On the other hand, Mark, he can't sleep at all because he's thinking about how to get more money. After all, as a man, especially an elderly man, it is obviously very uncomfortable to always have cysts and be shy. On the way to school the next morning, Mark and his daughter Mary rode a bicycle side by side. Mary hesitated several times along the way, but couldn't help but ask Mark a question. Dad, let me ask you a question. Ask me. It was rare to hear Mary speak in a more serious tone, and Mark realized that his daughter probably wanted to express something to him. I said if. Mary paused for a moment and said, if my mother hadn't been pregnant with me, would you two have gotten married? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 0009 Unscrupulous Wealth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After hearing this question, Mark was clearly taken aback. It is not a secret that when he and Tianyi went to college, they got married because they were married to each other. Mary knows that nature is very normal, but why did the little girl suddenly mention this? This has to make Mark think more. Why bother asking this? If it weren't for your mother being pregnant with you back then, you might not even exist now. Mark made a haha and thought he could handle it. Unexpectedly, Mary took on the second sentence again. If one day you two ask me who I will be with in the future, Dad, I will choose to follow you. Alright, don't think so much. Mark is not foolish, the little girl's words clearly indicate that she already knows about her divorce from her mother. Do you know? Mark asked. Mary nodded, with no visible expression on her face. How did you know? Did your mother tell you? After thinking for a while, Mark felt a bit puzzled about how his daughter found out about his divorce. You don't have to ask. Anyway, it wasn't my mother who said it. Also, I had a premonition about your divorce long ago, but I didn't expect it to happen so soon. After saying this, Mary accelerated her boarding speed and shook Mark off by a considerable distance. Although Mark felt a bit sudden about it, however, Mary's words still made him feel somewhat relieved. The statement that the daughter is the father's thoughtful little cotton jacket is indeed true. Just relying on the little girl's ability to say the words of choosing to follow her is enough for Mark to be satisfied. Taking advantage of the free time at school after lunch, Mark went to a nearby rental agency to look for a house. According to his plan, the money he currently has to buy a new house is clearly far from enough. It's better to find a place to rent and make do with it for a while before we talk. After reading the materials for half a day, Mark felt a headache. There are many rental properties available, but there are very few that meet one's requirements, sir, according to your request. Only these few sets are more suitable. Please take a look again. Finally, the few photos taken by the agent caught Mark's attention. Unlike what I just saw, this house does not belong to a modern apartment complex, but rather a single courtyard built in the last century, located near the North 3rd Ring Road, not far from the school and original home. Apart from the buildings being particularly old and small in size, there are no other flaws to be found. What is the rent for this place? Sir, if you really plan to rent this small courtyard, the price is not expensive either, 3,000 yuan per month. 3,000. Impossible. Is it really fake? Mark was a bit skeptical. It's absolutely true, 3,001 months, and it's still half a year to pay. The agent replied confidently, but the smile on his face was unnatural and stiff. Mark was somewhat surprised by such low rent. In theory, a small courtyard in the 4 or 9 cities is still within the boundaries of the 3rd Ring Road. Even if it is dilapidated and small, it shouldn't be at this price. Seeing that the intermediary's face was a bit strange and his speech was also intermittent, Mark didn't hesitate to use the skill of know your enemy and know your own on him once. Sure enough, after a flash of purple light, Mark immediately heard the other person's thoughts in his ears. If it weren't for the murder case that occurred in this courtyard 6 months ago, some people would always say it was because of ghosts. How could it be only 3,000 yuan per month? However, the manager won't let me take the initiative to talk about this matter, so it's best not to ask me in detail, big brother. Hey, after hearing the words, murder case, Mark was indeed somewhat surprised and immediately became somewhat aware. Most people do have some taboos about living in places where accidents have occurred, which is normal. As for the rumor of being haunted, Mark remained skeptical. He, who has experienced time travel, is now somewhat uncertain about this mysterious thing. However, just as Mark was about to turn his gaze to other properties, the silent system suddenly made a sound. A special opportunity triggered by the host has been detected, and the following task requirements are now issued. 1. Rent this courtyard and move in normally. 2. Find out the truth about the so-called haunted rumor. 3. After meeting the requirements, the host will receive all the unjust gains in the property. After reading a long list of system task instructions, Mark's expression suddenly became exciting. For a moment, he also had some speculations in his heart. The most crucial thing is that the 4 words, unjust wealth, represent a lot of meanings. Is it true that there is a treasure buried in the courtyard where a murder case has been committed? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 0010 Jie 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 Jie. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Furthermore, after describing the system, Mark also confirmed that haunted was just a rumor, which made him feel much more at ease. With the task released by the system as a guarantee, Mark immediately decided to follow the agent to the site to see the house. the entire courtyard is not significantly different from the one in the photo, just like the alley where my mother lives, filled with the atmosphere of the times. Although no one has lived here for half a year, the house is cleaned very clean, with only a small amount of dust falling on the furniture. In addition, there is an old-fashioned water well located to the west of the yard, next to which grows a fruit tree with a thick wrist. Under the corner of the east wall is a toilet, which looks like it has been specially renovated. The overall size of the room is about 60 square meters, divided into a small living room, a bedroom, and a kitchen. A sparrow, although small, has all 5 internal organs. I'll rent this courtyard. Sign the contract. After paying the deposit and half a year's rent, the agent happily left, and Mark held the key in his hand. After thinking about it, I decided to take advantage of the absence of classes in the afternoon and go home to tidy up my things. Directly moved the luggage to the small courtyard. In the evening, Mark finally sorted out all his luggage. It was getting late. He locked the door and went to the small noodle shop outside the alley to eat a bowl of zhajiangmian. Then he strolled around to get familiar with the living environment around. By the time I returned, it was already 10 o'clock at night. At the same time, after working overtime until late, T and I returned home and immediately realized that there were some Mark's things missing from the house. Thinking of Mark saying that she was going to move out today, she felt a little uncomfortable for no reason in her heart. Seeing his daughter sitting on the sofa watching TV, T and I hesitated for a moment before finally sitting over. "Lily, where is your father?" "My dad." "Didn't my dad say something wrong? Didn't he tell you?" Upon hearing her mother's inquiry, Mary remained in a daze. Although she is already aware of her parents' divorce, she still needs to pretend when it's time to do so. "Oh, I remember. I forgot about this. Did your brother sleep?" "Well, I went to bed long ago." "Okay, you should go to bed early too, don't watch TV too late." Although the next day is Saturday and the students are on vacation, T and I still has to go to work, so she didn't say anything else, and after finishing a simple wash, she went back to her room to rest. After hearing the sound of the old horse closing the door, Mary immediately jumped off the sofa barefoot and tiptoed to the door of her mother's bedroom, pressing her ear to the door. As expected, she faintly heard a small cry coming from inside. Knowing that Mom was crying, Mary just curled her lips and shook her head. If I had known now, why did I have in the past? With a low murmur, Mary returned to the living room, turned off the TV, and immediately dialed Mark as she entered her own room. "Hello, old horse. Have you slept yet?" Receiving his daughter's call at such a late hour, Mark, who was also lying down to sleep, couldn't help but feel a bit surprised. "What's wrong, Lily? Making a phone call so late?" "Hee, it's okay, I didn't miss you anyway. How did you feel on your first day of being single?" Mark couldn't help but laugh a little, dumbfounded by the mischievous question of the ancient spirit. This black-hearted cotton jacket is indeed quite airy. "No, big or small, if you don't have anything to do, I'll hang up." "Don't, Dad, I'll give you some news." "Speak up." "My mom just came back and saw that you were not there. She hid in the room and cried. I feel like she absolutely regrets divorcing you." Upon hearing the news about the fields, Mark couldn't help but remain silent for a moment. Seeing no response on the phone, Mary continued to speak on her own. "I think you should scare her off and stay outside for a few days before coming back. Old Ma, let's be serious. Is it still possible for you two to remarry?" "I think. Lily, the divorce was a decision made by your mother and I after careful consideration." Although he could hear the meaning behind his daughter's words enough, Mark still had to speak up and interrupt her. "Hey, okay. I won't say it's up to you. You decide your own business as adults. Also, where are you staying now?" "A hotel. I found the house." "Really? You're really fast. Where are you?" "I'll go and take a look tomorrow. I'll send you the location after hanging up the phone, and remember not to let your mother know about this place." "Ah, don't worry. Your daughter, how strict my mouth is." After continuing to chat with Mary for a while, I hung up the phone, thinking about finally being able to sleep well. Mark was just about to turn off the lights. At this moment, a blurry sound suddenly rang out from the originally quiet room. Jie 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 Jie. This voice sounds a bit like human laughter, but it is also quite vague and cannot be roughly determined. In addition, the duration is only about a few tens of seconds. However, even so, in a room that is dark and not deep in winter at night, and when it is confirmed that only oneself lives here, Mark still stood with sweat and hair in an instant, his back feeling cold. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.